All right, there's three tools that you need for striking up. Okay, a joiner, a runner, and a brush. The joiners come in various sizes. Each one has two sizes. This end is a little bit narrower than this end. This is 5/8 of an inch. This is 3/4 of an inch. Now, I'm going to say this, I'm saying it on tape too. Always use the wide side, unless you have extremely tight joints for some reason and you can't get in. 99% of the time you use the wide side, okay? The wide side. These come in various thicknesses too. This is a 3/4 inch, that's the most common size. This is used for the bed joint, the horizontal joints, because they're long, like this is. This is used for the cross joints. And you use this to polish. So number 10 there says strike, brush, and polish all joints. Okay? Everything that's facing the wall, you strike. When you're doing block work, you strike both sides of the wall. Brick, you only do the front. All right, this is for the cross joints. Now, these joints are pretty full. I shouldn't have to fill in, but it's always nice to have a little bit of mortar on the trowel, on the tip of the trowel like that. Shake it down and give yourself a little bit of working room. When you pick mortar off the trowel with the joiner, you do it like this. You push in and then you twist it this way with your wrist. And it'll stay on there. Okay, don't go like this because it falls off. Okay, you got to push it in and twist so it stays like that. Now, to strike these, you can do it a number of ways. You can get down in front of the wall like this and strike and use the whole tool. Or some guys like to do it overhand like this. Whichever is more convenient and wherever you are. Okay, if your brickwork is all the way down at the floor, this is easier because you can't get down this way and strike. Okay, so you do it like this. And what this is doing is compressing the mortar into the joint to seal it, to make it watertight, and it makes it stronger. Then you get the runner to do the bed joint. Wet it a little bit first. Get some mortar on it. Now the runner, the way this works is you hold it up against the brick, up against the joint real tight, and tilt the handle up slightly like this. So it's riding along the top edge of the course below. Because that course below is the course that you laid to the line, so that should be straight. And then you just move it back and forth, like this. If you have a joint where there's a little bit of a hole, get some mortar like that, press it in. Every once in a while add some. If you see that while you're striking, the joint starts to get black, okay, what's happening is it's starting to burn. That's the reaction between the metal and the sand. It's rubbing and it's actually taking the metal off, some of the finish of the metal off, and it causes it to burn. Once it starts to burn, and the joint gets black like this, the only alternative you have is to go back with your joiner and scratch it out and put some fresh stuff in there because it never goes away. It stays there. All right, it's a stain and it looks bad. Now I suggest you strike every 2 courses because it will set up on you. Now once that's done, bang your trowel off. And all this excess here, see this stuff hanging off? Little drops of mortar that hang off of there, they're called snotters. So you want to cut off all the snotters. Okay, if you don't cut them off and you leave them on there, the next step is the brush. Okay, if you leave the snotters on, you're going to smear it all over the face. It's like if you had a snotter, you know what I'm talking about. Not to get graphic. You don't want to smear it all over the face of the brick. You want to keep the face clean. All right, so you get your trowel just like you're cutting mortar off, and you just go along like that, and you cut off all those snotters. After you cut off the snotters, you get your brush. Go like this a couple times because sometimes people don't clean the brush when they're done and it has mortar on it. And you very lightly, diagonally, brush the wall. Don't go straight across because the brush will pull the mortar out of the joint. You go straight up and down, it's going to pull the mortar out of the joint, plus it's going to be bringing it up and the stuff will be hitting you in the face. All right? So on an angle like this, very gently. If someone's coming from the other way, just go downward, okay, but diagonally. Okay, just go across like that. If you're working this side, very gently. And then before you put the brush down, just go like this a couple times and you're done with it. Now this brush is in pretty good shape, but there's some around here that are all clogged up with mortar. The last and final step is polish. You go back with this, and what you're doing is removing the brush marks. Okay, and it gives it a nice, smooth finish. And you just go over every joint like this. Now, one thing I didn't talk about is sometimes when you strike the bed joint after you do the cross joint, you get a little lip here. You get a little bit of mortar sort of hanging out over the other joint. When they're called tits. All right? We don't want any tits on the wall. No snotters, no tits. Now, I didn't make these terms up now. That's what they call them. Okay? So you go along and you make sure there's no tits, no snotters, nice and smooth. Now you can use the joiner on the bed joint because you've already established the groove. You made the groove with the runner. Now you can very lightly go over it with this just to smooth it out. Okay? Use the whole tool. Okay? Don't just use the heel or don't just use the tip. When you push on it, you have to lift it off a little bit like that so it doesn't dig in. Okay? And just bring that back and forth like this. If there's any spots that you missed, just get a little bit of mortar out of the pan, rub it in like that. Now what I want everybody to do is observe the difference between the side that I polished and the side that I did not polish. You see a difference between this and this? Does everybody see that? This side, you have a joint, the bed joint running through the cross joint. You have a real rough texture on the joints. Over here, it's very smooth. It all blends. Each joint just blends in with the other one. You have no joint crossing the other, okay? Gives you a nice, neat effect. All right, any questions? Is this what? Marked? This block here? Yeah. I just moved this line up out of the way so I could strike it. Okay. Okay, before we're going to be doing spreading mortar for 8-inch block and buttering the 8-inch block.
Buttering?
Buttering and laying the 8-inch block. Now what we're going to do is go through some exercises like we did originally with the brick. We're going to lay them first without the line, and then we're going to lay them with the line. Again, it's the whole exercise of practice is to learn to handle material. This is a lot different than the brick. It's a lot heavier. Your mortar consistency is important. If the mortar's too soft, you got a 40-pound block that's going to squeeze down and you're not going to get any joint. So you have to make sure that the consistency of the mortar is right, that you spread enough, and that you maintain the right size joint. Now we're going to work right on this wall, and we'll be doing 3 courses, stack bonds, okay, directly on top of these. Okay, it's just an exercise for buttering and spreading and handling the block. Once we've done that well, try to lay them as straight as you possibly can and as level as you possibly can. And once you've done that reasonably well, then we'll go and we'll set up dead men like we did before, and we'll lay 3 courses to the line. Okay, but you have to learn how to handle the material first. Now spreading it is a bit different than spreading for brick. When you the first thing is when you pick the mortar up, you shake it down a little bit to help hold it. With brick, you don't do that. You spread the back of the wall by repositioning the trowel, putting the tip of the trowel right on the edge of the block, leaning the trowel towards you and down this way a little bit, okay? So it's like this, it's down this way, and it's in this way. And you start at the end, and you simply push the trowel downwards. Okay, you do not want the face of the trowel touching the face of the block. If you go down too straight like this, what's going to happen? You're going to smear the whole front of the block up. Now I realize here we got the block turned sideways, but for your benefit here, okay, if you come down straight like that, it's going to smear. Okay, if we come down like that, it's going to smear. Got to keep that angle back. Got to keep the angle back like that. Okay, so the trowel comes away from the block. Just like when you're buttering that brick, that second stroke, remember I told you that angle is important? You got to keep that angle. You do not wash block down. And sometimes they're not painted like they are here. Many times in warehouses, they don't paint the block. They just leave it bare. And if you got mortar smeared all over it, the job's going to look a mess. So you have to be very, very careful. And if you butter and you spread correctly, then there won't be any problem. Okay, you pick the mortar up, you shake it down, put the trowel, and then you got to flip the trowel around. See where my thumb is here? I'm going to turn the trowel around. Whoops. Do it without mortar first. You're going to flip the trowel around so your thumb is on the side. You go from this position to this position and straight down. It should be consistent. Same amount of mortar all the way down. Now the inside, you take the trowel and you, instead of going this way with it,
Go the other way.
you go this way. Okay? You always turn it in towards the wall. This way is in towards the wall that way. This way is in towards the wall that way. Okay? In towards the wall, reposition your hand, and this time your thumb is almost underneath. You start there, and the same thing, you come down like that. See how I did that? You reposition your hand. You can actually move your thumb around. See where my wrist is? It's going from here to here. Then you turn. Okay? Then you turn. It's a little tricky. It's going to take some practice. Actually, I'm doing that turn. I'm moving my hand going from here to here. you want a little bit on the ends. Now, as far as buttering goes, there's two different ways of buttering. You can either butter the block before you lay it, or you can butter the block after it's on the wall. It's more productive to do it while it's on the wall. Okay, first block you just go and you lay. Now, in the beginning, you don't have to do it with the trowel in your hand, but after you get the hang of it, I want you to be able to do this with the trowel in your hand. Okay, we want a jam block for a starter. You pick the block up so it's balanced. Okay, like this, or like this. Not like this. That's not balanced. Okay, because it's going to fall that way. Not like this. It's important that you set it balanced so that when a block settles down on the mortar, you can have equal pressure and it's going to go down as plumb as possible. If you put it down out of balance like this, one end's going to drop all the way, the other end's not going to get down far enough. Okay, so either like this or like this. Now look over the wall. I'm looking down here and I'm looking down here. And I'm making sure that I'm not sticking out. And I want to lay it as plumb as possible, so I sight it. I look down and sight it. Cut the excess mortar off. Look at the size of the joint. Might have to shake it down a little bit. Cut the mortar off. That looks fairly straight. If you have to adjust the block for plumb, okay, if it's leaning this way or this way, there's only two places that you adjust it, that you tap the block. Okay? And that's either here in the middle of the front or here in the middle of the back. Because if you hit it here, not only is the block going to tilt forward, it's also going to drop down this way. This end's going to drop down. Okay? So if you're doing plumb, it's here or here. If you're doing level, it's in the middle here or the middle here. Okay, they're the only four places you should really tap the block. Now, to butter, there's a number of different ways you can butter. If you're standing, usually 8-inch block, once you reach a certain height, it's 2 men laying it. If you're the person that's working on this side, you're going to have to learn to butter this way and this way. If you're the person that's on this side, you have to learn to butter this way and this way. So there's two ways to learn to butter it. All this is the same thing as I just did here, except in a different position. Okay, but the angle of the trowel is still important. Okay, you still have that angle. When you're doing this, you don't want to go like this so it smears the front of the block. You want to go on an angle like that. You put a little bit of mortar on the side of the trowel that you're going to use. You start at the bottom corner and you just come up like that. Is that easy? See how it stayed on there? See the angle? Okay. If you're doing the outside of the block, you put a little mortar on the outside edge and you come up like that. You're starting at the bottom and you're letting the trowel ride against the edge of the block, and you just come up with the blade. Now, sometimes, depending on the mortar, it won't stick. So what you do sometimes is you put a little mortar on your trowel, smear it on there first. Just smear a little bit, and then you come back. And that way it won't fall off. That'll ensure it. All right, if you're the person that's on this end of the block, you smear a little bit on, and you start with the heel of the trowel at the bottom and come up again. Same move. Over here you go with the bottom of the point of the trowel. Just swipe it right on. Does that look easy? Okay, watch again. So you just go like that. All right, so I'm going to put 2 joints on here. And then lay this block. Again, when you lay the block, just like with brick, you want this corner of the block, this course below, and the block you're going to lay all to be flush. Same thing, this corner flush, the end of the block flush over here, and level on top. Bend your knees a little bit to take some of the weight. Set the block down and hold it for a second. Okay, take a look at what you're doing. Go back and cut your mortar off. Make sure that you're staying in line with this bond here. Then if it needs adjustment, this got to come down a little bit here. You look at the joint, see if it's a little bit bigger on this side than it is here, so you got to tap down here a little bit. Okay, I'm sighting it down this way too to make sure it's plumb.
I know I'm a pain, but I'm not made of glass, right?
Come this way.
Okay. All right. We'll come the other way. Help. Excuse me. Thank you. Remember, bend your knees a little bit. But bend your knees a little bit to take that weight. A little dirt on the block there. Okay, make sure it's even with the end. Look at the bed joint. Should be equal and about 3/8 of an inch. Okay, you want to butter this side. You can go, there's a number of different ways of doing it. You can do it straight up like this. Come straight back. Like that. Or you could smear some on and come up like that. Now the last block again is a closure block, just like when you lay the brick. A closure brick, you butter both ends. And then butter both ends of the unit that you're laying. This block is upside down. This one's upside down too. Somebody didn't stock correctly here. Put a joint on both ends of the block. Here you might want to smash them out a little bit to sort of make them stick better. Cut off the mortar both sides. This joint's a little big here, the way it is down the bottom there. Okay, then you go to the second course. off, first thing you do is cut it off so you can see. Look down, eyeball it, see how plumb it is. It's got to come forward a little bit, so I want to tap here. If I look down the jam side, I can tell whether or not the block has to come out or in. That looks pretty good. Okay, do one course at a time. I think the key to laying an 8-inch block is to hold it a few seconds before you release it to allow some of that water to start absorbing out of the mortar, which will allow it to set up and carry the weight of the block. Okay, I'll do one more. It's not necessary to spread mortar on the cross webs, okay? Only on the front and back. Unless you have a block that is very wet or you have very soft mortar and you need the extra mortar to help support it. But generally, you only have to spread front and back. Okay, it's not going to be necessary to strike up at this point. Okay, I just want to get you to spread correctly, butter correctly, handle the block. All right, any questions? Okay, after we've done this for a few days or a week or so, then we'll start doing it to the line. And then we can start striking up. Any questions?